Today I will show you a comedy, drama film from 2018, titled Dead in a Week or Your Money Back. Spoilers ahead. William Morrison is a young, depressed writer with nothing to live for, so he wants to kill himself. And he's tried to do so many times to no avail. Something always gets in the way of his efforts. One evening, he's chosen to jump off a bridge, but he continues to stand on the edge, hesitating. He's suddenly startled by a man's voice coming from the shadows, offering him to push him and asking if he can watch. Appalled, William sends him away, but the mysterious man only leaves after giving him his card, even when William assures him nobody can help him anymore. Once the man is gone, William finally jumps, but once again, he fails. He's fallen on top of a party yacht. The next day, William has a meeting with his boss, who advises him to find something to distract himself from the horrible reality. He points out the people William has saved working as a lifeguard in the leisure center, but his last one was a year ago, so William doesn't find it very comforting. Since he won't improve his attitude and lately he never goes to work, his boss decides he has no other choice but to fire him. Now unemployed and feeling even more depressed, William goes back to his apartment and its walls covered with post-its detailing suicide plans, doodles, and plot ideas. After finding yet another letter from a publisher turning down his manuscript, William searches for pills in the bathroom, but all the bottles are empty. Next, he tries putting his head inside the oven, but the gas isn't working because he hasn't paid his bills. When night falls, he's brooding around the apartment, smoking, until he remembers the card the mysterious man had given him. He finally takes it out of his pocket and is surprised to find out the guy isn't a psychologist but an assassin, so he arranges a meeting for the next day. In the morning, William goes to the cafe they agreed on and meets Leslie O'Neill in person, who doesn't look much like an assassin because of his age and the turtleneck. After scolding William for arriving 7 minutes late and judging him by his look, Leslie asks him how he can be sure he is truly serious about this, so William tells him the bridge had been his 7th time trying to kill himself, 10th if they count cries for help. Previous attempts included hanging himself, but the lamp broke and he just fell, gassing, but the car wouldn't start, alcohol and pills, but he would just throw up, electrocution, but he only managed to lose power, and walking on the main road, but the car that hit him was an ambulance and immediately saved him. He has experienced so many near-death experiences he wrote a book about it, but nobody will publish it. Leslie decides to accept his case, especially since he needs to fill his quota. This is why he hangs out around bridges and cliffs, to help people kill themselves. He gives William a brochure to choose how he wants to go, and William chooses to get hit by a car while saving a kid, but it's too expensive for his budget. He only has $2,000, and for that, he gets the most basic option, shot to the head, quick but painful. William accepts and signs the contract before Leslie explains to him that he must pay up front by transferring the money to the account owned by the Guild of Assassins, and if he isn't dead by the end of the week then he gets his money back. After their meeting is over, Leslie takes the contract to the central office and asks for a weapon while looking at the man that was chosen Hitman of the Year, Ivan. He's doing so well, his list of murders doesn't even fit on the board. In the evening, he returns home, where his wife Penny and his birds receive him warmly. They have a very domestic dinner together while Penny tells him about her needlework. Meanwhile, William transfers the money to the guild's account, then writes a suicide note that he puts in his pocket for whenever they find him dead. In the morning, during breakfast, Penny tells Leslie about some cruise options she's been considering, but when Leslie protests, she realizes he's broken his promise and he won't be retiring this year either. Moments later, while following his next victim, Leslie receives a call from William, who tells him he's transferred the money but he also wants to get some things done first, so he'd like to know when Leslie will be killing him. Leslie hangs up on him after telling him he's in the middle of a job, and this inspires William to write down a book idea about an assassin that only kills people that want to die. He describes Leslie as some smooth spy, but the truth is, he's just an average guy that just happens to kill people for money and has normal people problems, like arguing with a cop over a parking ticket and then going back home to play cards with his wife and friends. Later that day, a publishing company calls William and tells him they want to meet to discuss a possible deal for his book next week. Since by then he'll be dead, William requests for the meeting to be tomorrow, and the editor accepts before asking him not to kill himself before then. When the talk is over, William rushes outside to see Leslie, who has been watching him from his car, and after telling him about the publisher's call, he asks him if they can wait a couple more days before doing the assassination so he can finish the book deal first. Leslie accepts, but as soon as William goes back inside, he writes down the name of the restaurant as his next destination. The following day, William meets with editor Ellie Adams at the restaurant. While waiting for her boss to arrive, they discover they have a similar morbid sense of humor and Ellie calls William interesting. The chief editor, Brian Bentley, arrives then, showing what a cretin he is on the phone. When they start discussing the book, the contrast is clear. Brian wants to do an idiot's guide to suicide and sell it as edgy, while Ellie wants to present it as a personal insight into the world of suicide to connect with desperate and lonely people. Brian also wants to release the book the same day William kills himself as part of the marketing campaign. When Ellie mentions the message he wants to pass on, William tries to explain that he sees death as nothing to fear and it's something we all have in common, which is a bit reassuring. Ellie understands and feels a connection to him thanks to it, but Brian starts ranting about young people oversharing their personal drama like the cretin he is. William notices Ellie's pen falling to the floor and bends over to pick it up at the exact moment a bullet is about to hit him, so it ends up killing Brian instead. It turns out Leslie is in a nearby building shooting from the window, and when William sees him, he makes hands gestures to try to get him to stop. Leslie doesn't care and shoots again, and this time, a waiter walks by in front of his target and receives the shot instead. As William and Ellie hide under the table and smoke together, Leslie decides he's had enough for today and returns home. As soon as he enters his house, Penny can tell something is bothering her husband and does her best to comfort him when she learns he made a terrible mistake at work. Then she starts complaining about the other women from her club and how nervous she is about her pillow needlework not being good enough for their standards, and Leslie is nothing but patient to listen to her. He reassures her she's fantastic while using a toy to test his reflexes because he's worried about the shots he missed earlier. The following day, Ellie visits William at his apartment, having found his address on the manuscript. She wants to start working on his book because she has nothing else to do. The company gave her a few days off to deal with the trauma of what they saw. She doesn't sound too bothered though. In fact, she seems glad Brian died because he was a cretin and she'll get promoted. After inviting William to join her and her friends on writing nights, she insists on arranging a schedule to work on his book, but he refuses, seeing as he's going to die soon. Ellie continues to push, reminding him people could connect with the book and he would feel less adrift, so William sees no other choice but to confess. After hearing about Leslie, Ellie thinks it's crazy to outsource suicide, so she makes William call Leslie to call off the deal. They are both suddenly startled by a ringtone coming from the bedroom, and when William goes to check, he finds Leslie about to escape through the window. He asks him to call the whole thing off, which angers Leslie because he's only one kill away from filling his quota, so he decides to shoot William right here, right now. William closes the door behind him just in time and rushes back to Ellie, dragging her by the hand with him to leave the building together. Leslie goes after them, but he misses every shot as they go down the stairs. Once they reach the streets, William and Ellie find a cop and steal his scooter after Ellie punches him. As they drive away, Leslie tries to stop them but ends up killing the police officer. Now he has to hide the body, but while he takes care of that, two men from the guild show up and kidnap him, taking him with them to see their boss, Harvey, who strongly scolds him for all the people he killed by accident, especially Brian, who already had a contract on his head and Leslie took him from another assassin's list. Harvey fires Leslie for all those mistakes and tries to gift him a clock that Leslie turns down, leaving after his pleas to stay get ignored. Once he's gone, Harvey points out he's become a liability and orders Ivan to kill him. By the time night falls, William and Ellie arrive at a cabin in the woods that used to belong to Ellie's parents, who are now dead. While drinking wine in front of the fireplace, William notices the cut marks on Ellie's wrist, prompting a conversation about their experiences with suicide. Ellie tells her that during the car crash that killed her parents, she was dead too for 10 seconds that felt like nothing, pretty much just an empty void. On the other hand, William's parents were crushed by a piano that fell of them on the streets one afternoon when they went out for ice cream. His mom died instantly, but his dad still got some minutes left, which made William think he would get to hear some powerful last words. Sadly though, he died without saying anything, and this is what taught William that life has no hidden meaning. Seeing as there's no way to cheer him up, Ellie pretends to accept killing themselves, so she brings 2 knives and gives one to William as she points out dying will not teach them what the purpose of life is, living will. These words resonate with William, who discards the knife and kisses Ellie. The two of them make love in front of the fire. Back in the city, Penny is excited to hear Leslie is retiring and she's ready to book a cruise, but Leslie asks her not to get ahead of herself yet. Without work, Leslie feels rather useless, and he doesn't want or who he is. When he mentions he doesn't want to retire yet, Penny tells him that then he shouldn't do it, because while she has been waiting for this moment for a while, they won't be happy if Leslie doesn't mean it. She also tells him to show Harvey what great shape he is still in by finishing the contract and filling his quota. In the morning, before leaving for her club needlework competition, Penny gives Leslie a knife. He also leaves the house after finding Leslie's address on her bank statement, so when Ivan arrives and breaks in, there's nobody left in the house except the little birds, but that is enough for him to get an idea. William and Ellie have breakfast together while Ellie points out all the logical holes in William's first choice of death, saving a kid from being hit by a car. Afterward, they go out for a walk, and when they return to the cabin a couple of hours later, Leslie is waiting for them there with a gun. William tries to explain he wants to live now, but Leslie doesn't care. He has a contract to finish. He raises his gun and is about to shoot William when his phone rings. The first time he ignores it, but it keeps going, so he has no other choice than to pick it up. It's Penny calling to tell him their house was broken in and their birds were killed. This leaves Leslie quite shaken, so when he finally snaps out of it and tries again to kill William, he's interrupted by Ivan, who enters the house and shoots him on the spot. Ellie and William think Ivan came to help, but then he turns his gun at them and hands Leslie's weapon to William, ordering him to shoot himself where he'll kill Ellie. The idea is to make it look like William was the one to kill Leslie and then himself, but Ellie points out that for that to work he would need Ivan's gun, not Leslie's. Ivan exchanges guns with him and, after telling Ellie he hasn't thought about killing himself since he met her, William puts the gun in his mouth, ready to shoot. He's saved just in time by Leslie, who suddenly stands up and kills Ivan by stabbing him with the knife Penny gifted him, then crushes his head repeatedly for killing his birds. Ivan's shot had only grazed his ear. However, even after all this, Leslie insists on having to kill William. Ellie takes the second gun and aims it at him, telling him to back off, but Leslie reminds them he can't because he really needs one last kill to fill his quota. Then Ellie gets an idea. They can make a new contract and say they've hired Leslie to kill Ivan, paying him by using the money William had already transferred for his own death. Leslie accepts, and he writes down the contract on William's suicide note since he won't need it anymore. The trio dumps Ivan's body in the river before they return to the city. As soon as Leslie arrives at his house, Penny rushes to hug him, since she had been worried about him, then tells him the exciting news: she won first place for her needlework. Moments later, they're having dinner together when the doorbell rings. It's Harvey, who wants to hear an explanation of why Ivan is dead but William isn't. Leslie shows him the new contract and tells him about the money, which means he's filled his quota. This starts an argument about if Leslie was retired or not and if he could even take or finish contracts, which ends with both men pointing their guns at each other under the table. Their little confrontation is interrupted by Penny, who has come back to show Harvey the cushion she made. The design is a pair of birds that mate for life and grow old together, and when one dies, the other tends to die soon after. She thinks the way they need each other is very sweet, and these words resonate with Leslie, who doesn't stop Penny from taking the clock Harvey brought and talking about the cruise they'll be going on in the future. Seeing as Leslie has finally accepted his retirement, Harvey says his final goodbye and leaves, giving Penny the privacy she needs to tell Leslie she isn't sorry for what she just did. She knows Leslie loves his job, but she thinks he's much more than just an assassin. Leslie tells her he doesn't know what he would do without her. Many days later, William and Ellie are taking a walk through the park. Ellie tells him his book about an assassin was approved by the higher-ups and they'll be publishing it soon. William admits living isn't so bad and kisses her, only to get distracted a second later when he sees a kid running to the streets to retrieve his ball. Without hesitation, William runs to him and pushes him out of the way, getting hit by a car in the process. Ellie rushes to his side after asking people to call an ambulance, and William asks her to lay down with him while they hear everyone around them clap. William calls at the perfect moment. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.